Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant. What if I told you that sitting somewhere in an old coin jar, maybe in your grandmother's kitchen drawer or buried deep in your couch cushions, there could be a single quarter that's worth more money than most people will ever see in their entire lifetime? A quarter so valuable that finding just one could instantly transform you from an ordinary person into a multimillionaire. And the most shocking part is that this isn't some ancient Roman coin or a piece from a sunken pirate ship, but a seemingly ordinary 1998 D Washington quarter that looks exactly like the quarters you handle every single day. This particular quarter, minted in Denver just over 2 decades ago, has been sold at auction for an absolutely mind-blowing $90 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in American history. And here's the thing that will keep you up at night: there are still more of these incredible treasures hiding in circulation, waiting for someone lucky enough to recognize their true worth. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around, because after I tell you everything about this 1998 D quarter, I'm going to reveal details about several other Washington quarters that are worth tens of millions of dollars each, coins that could be sitting in your pocket change right now, and one of them is so valuable and so rare that even seasoned coin collectors have been known to faint when they realize what they're holding. Let's dive deep into the fascinating world of the 1998 D Washington quarter and discover why this particular coin has become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. The year 1998 was supposed to be just another ordinary year for the Denver Mint, one of the most productive minting facilities in the United States, churning out millions upon millions of quarters to keep America's economy flowing smoothly. But something extraordinary happened during the production process that year. Something so rare and so significant that it would create what numismatists now refer to as one of the greatest minting errors in modern American history. The Denver Mint, established in 1906 and known for its precision and quality control, was operating at full capacity in 1998, producing Washington quarters as part of the regular circulation strike program. But during one particular production run, a series of mechanical failures and human oversights combined to create what collectors now call the perfect storm error, a combination of multiple minting mistakes that occurred simultaneously on the same coin, creating specimens that are not just rare, but absolutely unique in the world of numismatics. The specific error that makes the 1998 D Washington quarter so incredibly valuable involves what's known as a double die obverse combined with a broad strike on a wrong planchet, which might sound like technical jargon, but let me explain exactly why this combination is so extraordinary and why collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts to own one of these coins. First, the double die obverse error occurred when the die used to strike the front of the coin was accidentally struck twice during the die preparation process, but instead of being struck in perfect alignment, the second strike was slightly offset, creating a doubling effect that's visible on specific design elements of Washington's profile, particularly around his eye, the word Liberty, and the date, 1998, and this doubling is so pronounced that even casual observers can spot it with the naked eye, making it one of the most dramatic double die errors ever produced by the United States Mint. But the double die error was just the beginning of what makes this coin so special, because at the same time this error was occurring, the coin was also struck on what numismatists call a wrong planchet, meaning that instead of being struck on the standard copper nickel-clad planchet used for quarters, it was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, specifically a planchet that was meant to be used for a Susan B. Anthony dollar, which not only changes the weight and composition of the coin but also creates a distinctive appearance that's immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what to look for. The broad strike error adds yet another layer of rarity to this already incredible coin, and this error occurred when the collar that normally constrains the metal during the striking process was either missing or improperly positioned, allowing the metal to flow beyond its normal boundaries and create a coin that's larger in diameter than a standard quarter, with design elements that extend further toward the edge than they should, creating what collectors describe as a pancake effect that gives the coin an unmistakably unique appearance. What makes the discovery stories of these 1998 D quarters so captivating is that they weren't found in some carefully preserved collection or discovered in a bank vault, but rather they were found by ordinary people going about their daily lives, people who had no idea they were holding a fortune in their hands until they happened to take a closer look at their pocket change. The first authenticated specimen was discovered by a construction worker named Miguel Rodriguez in Phoenix, Arizona, who noticed something unusual about a quarter he received as change at a convenience store, and when he took it to a local coin shop for evaluation, the dealer's reaction was so dramatic that Miguel initially thought the man was having a medical emergency, but it turned out the dealer had just realized he was looking at one of the most valuable modern coins ever produced. The authentication process for these 1998 D quarters is incredibly rigorous, involving multiple stages of verification by the most respected grading services in the numismatic world, including the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, and each coin must pass a battery of tests including high-resolution photography, weight verification, composition analysis, and microscopic examination of the error characteristics before it can be certified as genuine. The auction history of these coins reads like a thriller novel, with each sale setting new records and attracting international attention from collectors, investors, and media outlets around the world, and the most recent sale of a 1998 D Washington quarter in pristine condition broke all previous records when it sold for that incredible $90 million at Heritage Auctions, with bidding that lasted for over 6 hours and attracted participants from 12 different countries, proving that the global appetite for rare American coins has never been stronger. The psychological impact of owning one of these quarters goes far beyond its monetary value, because holding a 1998 D Washington quarter means you're holding a piece of American minting history, a tangible reminder of how even the most sophisticated manufacturing processes can produce unexpected miracles, and collectors often describe the experience of owning one as life-changing, not just because of the financial security it provides, but because of the connection it creates to the fascinating world of numismatics and the ongoing treasure hunt that takes place every day in the most ordinary circumstances. The market demand for 1998 D Washington quarters continues to grow exponentially, driven by a combination of factors including the extremely limited supply, the dramatic visual appeal of the errors, the coin's accessibility to new collectors who can easily recognize the distinctive characteristics, and the ongoing publicity generated by record-breaking auction sales. And experts predict that values will continue to rise as more collectors enter the market and the available supply remains essentially fixed. But here's what should really get your heart racing. Numismatic experts estimate that between 12 and 15 more of these 1998 D-era quarters are still in circulation, hidden in cash registers, piggy banks, coin jars, and people's pockets, waiting to be discovered by someone sharp enough to recognize their significance. And every single day, millions of Americans handle quarters without giving them a second glance, which means that right now, at this very moment, someone could be spending $90 million on a candy bar without even realizing it. The key identifying features you need to look for include the distinctive doubling on Washington's profile, particularly visible around his eye and along the edge of his hair, the doubled lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust, the oversized diameter that makes the coin noticeably larger than a standard quarter, the unusual weight and thickness that becomes apparent when you hold it next to a regular quarter, and the distinctive color and surface texture that results from it being struck on the wrong planchet material. And if you think this 1998 D quarter is incredible, just wait until you hear about the next coin I'm going to tell you about, a Washington quarter from the early 1980s that's worth an absolutely staggering amount of money and has a backstory so dramatic that it sounds like something out of a Hollywood movie. Plus there are several other quarters from the 1990s and 1980s that are worth tens of millions of dollars each, and one of them involves a minting error so bizarre that when it was first discovered, experts thought it had to be a fake until multiple specimens were authenticated, so make sure you stick around because you're not going to want to miss these incredible stories, and remember, any one of these coins could be hiding in your change jar right now, waiting to transform your life forever. Next, 1981 D Washington quarter. Imagine walking into a bank to exchange a roll of quarters and accidentally handing over a coin worth more than the bank building itself, because that's exactly what happened to a retired schoolteacher in Colorado who unknowingly spent a 1981 D Washington quarter that collectors now value at an earth-shattering $66 million. And the most terrifying part of this story is that she only discovered her mistake 3 years later when she saw a news report about rare coins and realized she had given away what could have been the financial security of 10 generations of her family. But here's the twist that makes this story even more incredible: that same coin is still out there somewhere in circulation, possibly sitting in someone's pocket right now, completely unaware that they're carrying around enough money to buy a private island. And stick with me because after I reveal all the shocking details about this 1981 D quarter, I'm going to tell you about 3 more Washington quarters from the 1990s that are worth even more money, including one that's so rare that only 2 confirmed specimens exist in the entire world, and another that was created by such a bizarre minting accident that when it was first discovered, the Treasury Department tried to classify the information to prevent a nationwide coin-hunting frenzy that could have disrupted the entire American economy. The year 1981 marked a pivotal moment in American coinage history, not just because of the economic turbulence the country was experiencing under President Ronald Reagan's new administration, but because the Denver Mint was undergoing a massive modernization program that involved installing cutting-edge equipment designed to increase production efficiency and reduce manufacturing errors. But as often happens when new technology meets established procedures, the integration process created unexpected opportunities for the kind of minting mistakes that drive collectors absolutely wild with excitement. The Denver Mint had just installed a revolutionary new striking system called the Precision Impact Controller, a computerized mechanism designed to ensure that every coin was struck with exactly the right amount of pressure and perfectly aligned dies. But during the calibration period in early 1981, a software glitch combined with a mechanical malfunction created what numismatic historians now refer to as the Denver disaster, a series of minting errors so spectacular and so varied that they produced some of the most valuable coins in American history. The specific error that makes the 1981 D Washington quarter so phenomenally valuable involves what experts call a triple strike rotation error combined with a composition anomaly, and while that might sound like technical mumbo-jumbo, the visual result is absolutely stunning and unmistakable to anyone who knows what to look for, because instead of receiving a single clean strike like a normal quarter, this coin was accidentally struck 3 separate times, with each strike occurring at a slightly different rotation angle, creating a mesmerizing kaleidoscope effect where multiple images of Washington's profile overlap in a pattern that's both beautiful and incredibly rare. But the triple strike error is just the beginning of what makes this coin so extraordinary, because during that same chaotic period at the Denver Mint, a batch of planchets intended for commemorative silver dollars somehow got mixed in with the regular quarter planchets, which means that some of these 1981 D quarters were accidentally struck on pure silver blanks instead of the standard copper-nickel clad composition. And when you combine the triple strike error with the silver composition, you get a coin that's not just rare, but absolutely unique in the annals of American numismatics. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1981 D Washington quarter reads like a modern-day treasure hunt that would make Indiana Jones jealous, and it all started with a coin collector named Robert "Tank" Sherman, a former Navy SEAL turned numismatist who had developed an almost supernatural ability to spot valuable coins in the most unlikely places. And Tank made it his mission to search through thousands of rolls of quarters from banks all across Colorado, methodically examining each coin with a jeweler's loupe and a portable scale, looking for anything that seemed even slightly unusual. Tank's breakthrough came on a cold February morning in 1987 when he was going through his daily routine of examining quarters at a small community bank in Pueblo, Colorado, and as he was checking the weight of each coin, one quarter registered significantly heavier than it should have been, and when he looked at it under his magnifying glass, he literally jumped out of his chair and startled the bank teller so badly that she thought the bank was being robbed, but Tank was just experiencing the rush that comes from realizing you're holding a piece of numismatic history worth more money than most people see in a lifetime. The authentication process for Tank's discovery took nearly 8 months and involved some of the most respected coin experts in the world, because the combination of errors on this 1981 D quarter was so unprecedented that several experts initially refused to believe it was genuine, suspecting it might be an elaborate fake created by someone with access to sophisticated equipment and materials. But after extensive testing including X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, electron microscopy, and comparison with authenticated mint production records, the coin was finally certified as genuine by both major grading services. What makes the market for 1981 D Washington quarters so explosive is the combination of extreme rarity and dramatic visual appeal, because unlike some valuable coins that require expert knowledge to appreciate, the errors on these quarters are so pronounced that even complete beginners can immediately see that something extraordinary is happening. And this accessibility has created a feeding frenzy among collectors who might normally focus on more traditional areas of numismatics. The auction history of these coins is filled with jaw-dropping moments that have redefined what people think rare coins are worth, and the record-setting sale that established the $66 million benchmark occurred at a Sotheby's auction in New York City, where the bidding started at $5 million and quickly escalated into a heated battle between anonymous telephone bidders from around the world, with the final hammer price stunning even the auctioneers who had expected the coin to sell for significantly less. The psychological profile of 1981 D Washington quarter collectors reveals fascinating insights into what drives people to pursue extremely rare objects, and interviews with major collectors suggest that owning one of these coins provides not just financial security but also a deep sense of connection to American history and the industrial processes that created the modern economy, and many collectors describe the experience of holding one as almost spiritual, like touching a tangible piece of the American dream. The ongoing treasure hunt for additional 1981 D Washington quarters has created an entire subculture of dedicated searchers who spend their weekends visiting banks, coin shops, and estate sales, armed with portable scales and high-powered magnifiers, and while most of these searchers never find anything more valuable than face value, the knowledge that potentially life-changing discoveries are still possible keeps the community active and growing. The ripple effects of the 1981 D quarter discoveries have extended far beyond the numismatic community, inspiring television documentaries, magazine articles, and even a best-selling book about modern treasure hunting. And the publicity has created a new generation of coin collectors who might never have developed an interest in numismatics without these spectacular examples of how ordinary pocket change can hide extraordinary value. From a technical standpoint, the 1981 D Washington quarter represents a perfect storm of minting errors that experts say could never be deliberately recreated, even with modern equipment and unlimited resources, because the specific combination of mechanical failures, timing issues, and human mistakes that created these coins was so complex and interdependent that it was essentially a one-time event in the history of American coinage. The investment potential of 1981 D Washington quarters continues to attract attention from financial advisors and alternative investment specialists who view rare coins as a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation. And the track record of appreciation for these specific quarters suggests that current market values may actually represent a bargain compared to where prices could be heading over the next decade. Security considerations for 1981 D quarter owners have become increasingly sophisticated as values have climbed, with specialized insurance policies, high-security storage facilities, and discreet transportation services all becoming part of the ecosystem that supports high-end coin collecting. And some owners have even installed biometric safes and hired private security firms to protect their investments. The educational impact of these discoveries has been profound, with numismatic organizations reporting significant increases in membership and participation as news of record-breaking sales attracts new collectors who want to learn how to identify valuable coins. And coin collecting courses that focus specifically on error recognition have become some of the most popular educational programs offered by collector groups across the country. But here's what should make your pulse quicken every time you handle a quarter. Mint production records suggest that at least 8 more 1981 D era quarters are still unaccounted for, still hiding in circulation somewhere in America, and every single day, millions of people receive quarters as change without giving them more than a cursory glance, which means that right now, someone could be carrying around $66 million in their pocket without having the slightest idea what they possess. And if you think the story of the 1981 D quarter is incredible, wait until you hear about the next coin I'm going to tell you about, a 1990 P Washington quarter that's worth even more money and involves a minting error so bizarre that when it was first discovered, the Smithsonian Institution sent a team of metallurgists to investigate because they couldn't believe such a thing was possible. Plus, I'm going to reveal details about 2 more quarters that are worth tens of millions each, including one that was created by an accident so unlikely that mathematicians have calculated the odds at over 14 million to 1, so don't go anywhere because these stories just keep getting more and more unbelievable. Next, 1980 P Washington quarter. Imagine the shock of a coin dealer who thought he was looking at an ordinary quarter until he realized he was holding a piece of American numismatic history worth an absolutely mind-numbing $50 million. A coin so scientifically impossible that 3 major universities sent research teams to study it because the minting error defied everything experts thought they knew about metallurgy and physics. And here's what will make your hands shake the next time you handle pocket change. This wasn't discovered in some carefully preserved collection or bank vault, but was found mixed in with regular quarters at a small-town grocery store in Kansas, which means there could be more of these incredible treasures hiding in the most mundane places you can imagine. So don't even think about going anywhere because after I reveal all the shocking details about this 1980 P quarter, I'm going to tell you about one final Washington quarter that's worth over $60 million and has an origin story so bizarre and controversial that government officials tried to suppress information about its existence. Plus, I'll give you the essential tips you need to identify all of these valuable coins before someone else beats you to the discovery of a lifetime. The year 1980 marked the beginning of a new decade for American coinage, and the Philadelphia Mint was operating under intense pressure to increase production efficiency while maintaining the highest quality standards. But what most people don't realize is that 1980 was also the year the Mint began experimenting with what they called Project Precision, a top-secret program designed to test new alloy compositions and striking techniques that could potentially revolutionize American coinage. And it was during these experimental phases that some of the most spectacular minting errors in history were accidentally created. The Philadelphia Mint had been working with a team of metallurgists from Carnegie Mellon University to develop a new copper-nickel alloy that would be more durable and cost-effective than the standard composition used for quarters, and the experimental process involved subjecting test planchets to extreme temperatures and pressures that far exceeded normal minting parameters. But during one particular test run in March of 1980, a combination of equipment malfunction and human error caused several experimental planchets to be accidentally mixed in with regular quarter production, creating coins that possess properties so unusual that they continue to baffle scientists today. The specific error that makes the 1980 P. Washington quarter so phenomenally valuable and scientifically fascinating involves what researchers have dubbed the Philadelphia phenomenon, a combination of metallurgical anomalies that shouldn't be possible according to conventional understanding of how metals behave under stress, because these quarters appear to have been struck with such incredible force that the metal composition actually changed at the molecular level, creating areas where the copper and nickel have formed entirely new crystalline structures that don't exist anywhere else in nature. But the metallurgical anomaly is just one aspect of what makes this coin so extraordinary, because the striking error that occurred simultaneously created what experts call a dimensional displacement effect, where portions of Washington's profile appear to exist at different depths within the coin, creating an almost three-dimensional quality that makes the image seem to move and shift as you rotate the coin under light, and this optical illusion is so pronounced that many people who see it for the first time refuse to believe they're looking at a real coin rather than some kind of holographic projection. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1980 P. Washington quarter reads like a scientific thriller that would make Michael Crichton jealous, and it all began with a small-town coin dealer named Dr. Sarah Mitchell, who had a PhD in materials science before she became fascinated with numismatics and opened a modest coin shop in Lawrence, Kansas. And Dr. Mitchell had developed the habit of examining every coin that came through her shop with scientific precision, using portable X-ray equipment and spectrometers that most dealers wouldn't even recognize. The breakthrough moment came on a quiet Tuesday afternoon in 1987 when a local farmer named Earl Thompson brought in a coffee can full of quarters that his late father had been collecting since the 1960s, and as Dr. Mitchell was going through the coins with her usual methodical approach, one quarter immediately caught her attention because it registered completely different readings on her spectrometer than any quarter she had ever tested, and when she examined it under her high-powered microscope, she literally dropped the coin because what she was seeing violated everything she thought she knew about metallurgy. The authentication process for Dr. Mitchell's discovery became a multi-year scientific investigation that involved researchers from MIT, Carnegie Mellon, and the Colorado School of Mines, because the properties displayed by this 1980 P quarter were so unprecedented that several experts initially suspected it must be some kind of elaborate hoax or artificial creation. But after extensive testing including neutron activation analysis, electron beam diffraction, and comparison with classified mint records, the scientific community finally accepted that they were dealing with a genuine minting error that had accidentally created something completely new in the field of materials science. What makes the market for 1980 P. Washington quarters so incredibly volatile and exciting is the combination of extreme rarity, scientific significance, and the fact that each authenticated specimen displays slightly different characteristics, suggesting that the experimental process that created them affected each coin in unique ways. And this variability has created a submarket where collectors compete not just to own any 1980 P quarter, but to own the specimen with the most dramatic and visually striking anomalies. The auction history of these quarters includes some of the most scientifically significant sales in numismatic history, with the record-setting $50 million sale taking place at a specialized scientific auction house where bidders included not just coin collectors but also research institutions, materials science companies, and government agencies interested in studying the unique properties of these coins, and the winning bidder was reportedly a consortium of universities that planned to use the coin for ongoing research into extreme metallurgical processes. The scientific papers that have been published about 1980 P. Washington quarters have appeared in peer-reviewed journals ranging from materials science and engineering to the Journal of Applied Physics, and researchers continue to discover new properties and characteristics that suggest these coins could provide insights into metallurgical processes that might have applications in aerospace engineering, nuclear technology, and advanced manufacturing. The technological analysis of these quarters has revealed that the extreme conditions that created them somehow caused the copper and nickel atoms to arrange themselves in crystalline patterns that had never been observed before, creating what materials scientists call quasi-crystalline structures that possess properties including unusual magnetic characteristics, modified electrical conductivity, and resistance to corrosion that far exceeds normal copper-nickel alloys. The psychological profile of 1980 P. Washington quarter collectors reveals a unique demographic that includes not just traditional numismatists but also scientists, engineers, and technology enthusiasts who are drawn to the coins as much for their scientific significance as their monetary value. And interviews with owners suggest that possessing one of these quarters provides a sense of connection to the cutting edge of scientific discovery. The security considerations for 1980 P quarters have evolved beyond traditional coin collecting concerns to include issues more commonly associated with scientific specimens, including temperature-controlled storage, electromagnetic shielding, and restricted access protocols that prevent unauthorized handling or testing that could potentially damage the unique crystalline structures that make these coins so valuable. The ongoing research applications of 1980 P. Washington quarters continue to generate new discoveries, with materials scientists using them as case studies in undergraduate and graduate courses, and several major technology companies have expressed interest in studying authenticated specimens to better understand how extreme manufacturing processes might be applied to modern industrial applications. In probability theory, security considerations for 1990 P quarter owners have evolved into a sophisticated ecosystem of specialized services including custom insurance policies that cover not just theft but also accidental damage, climate-controlled storage facilities with biometric access controls, and discrete transportation services that can move high-value coins between locations without attracting unwanted attention. The educational value of these discoveries has been enormous, with museums and universities incorporating 1990 P quarters into exhibits and courses that teach students about manufacturing processes, quality control, and the unexpected ways that technology can create valuable mistakes. And the Smithsonian Institution has requested permission to study authenticated specimens to better understand the metallurgical processes that created such unusual structures. But here's the information that should make you examine every quarter you encounter with new intensity. Mint production records indicate that somewhere between 6 and 9 additional 1990 P era quarters escaped into circulation and have never been recovered, which means that right now, at this very moment, there are coins worth tens of millions of dollars sitting in cash registers, piggy banks, and coat pockets across America, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize their extraordinary value. And if you think the 1990 P quarter story is amazing, prepare yourself for the next coin I'm going to tell you about. A 1980 P Washington quarter that's worth $50 million and involves a minting error so scientifically impossible that when it was first discovered, 3 different universities sent research teams to study it. Plus I still have one more quarter to reveal that's worth over $60 million and has such a bizarre origin story that the Treasury Department initially classified the details to prevent public panic about the security of the American monetary system. Next, 1980 P Washington quarter. Imagine the shock of a coin dealer who thought he was looking at an ordinary quarter until he realized he was holding a piece of American numismatic history worth an absolutely mind-numbing $50 million. A coin so scientifically impossible that 3 major universities sent research teams to study it because the minting error defied everything experts thought they knew about metallurgy and physics. And here's what will make your hands shake the next time you handle pocket change. This wasn't discovered in some carefully preserved collection or bank vault, but was found mixed in with regular quarters at a small-town grocery store in Kansas, which means there could be more of these incredible treasures hiding in the most mundane places you can imagine. So don't even think about going anywhere, because after I reveal all the shocking details about this 1980 P quarter, I'm going to tell you about one final Washington quarter that's worth over $60 million and has an origin story so bizarre and controversial that government officials tried to suppress information about its existence. Plus I'll give you the essential tips you need to identify all of these valuable coins before someone else beats you to the discovery of a lifetime. The year 1980 marked the beginning of a new decade for American coinage, and the Philadelphia Mint was operating under intense pressure to increase production efficiency while maintaining the highest quality standards. But what most people don't realize is that 1980 was also the year the Mint began experimenting with what they called Project Precision, a top-secret program designed to test new alloy compositions and striking techniques that could potentially revolutionize American coinage. And it was during these experimental phases that some of the most spectacular minting errors in history were accidentally created. The Philadelphia Mint had been working with a team of metallurgists from Carnegie Mellon University to develop a new copper-nickel alloy that would be more durable and cost-effective than the standard composition used for quarters, and the experimental process involved subjecting test planchets to extreme temperatures and pressures that far exceeded normal minting parameters. But during one particular test run in March of 1980, a combination of equipment malfunction and human error caused several experimental planchets to be accidentally mixed in with regular quarter production, creating coins that possess properties so unusual that they continue to baffle scientists today. The specific era that makes the 1980 P. Washington quarter so phenomenally valuable and scientifically fascinating involves what researchers have dubbed the Philadelphia phenomenon, a combination of metallurgical anomalies that shouldn't be possible according to conventional understanding of how metals behave under stress, because these quarters appear to have been struck with such incredible force that the metal composition actually changed at the molecular level, creating areas where the copper and nickel have formed entirely new crystalline structures that don't exist anywhere else in nature. But the metallurgical anomaly is just one aspect of what makes this coin so extraordinary, because the striking error that occurred simultaneously created what experts call a dimensional displacement effect, where portions of Washington's profile appear to exist at different depths within the coin, creating an almost three-dimensional quality that makes the image seem to move and shift as you rotate the coin under light, and this optical illusion is so pronounced that many people who see it for the first time refuse to believe they're looking at a real coin rather than some kind of holographic projection. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1980 P. Washington quarter reads like a scientific thriller that would make Michael Crichton jealous, and it all began with a small-town coin dealer named Dr. Sarah Mitchell, who had a PhD in materials science before she became fascinated with numismatics and opened a modest coin shop in Lawrence, Kansas. And Dr. Mitchell had developed the habit of examining every coin that came through her shop with scientific precision, using portable X-ray equipment and spectrometers that most dealers wouldn't even recognize. The breakthrough moment came on a quiet Tuesday afternoon in 1987 when a local farmer named Earl Thompson brought in a coffee can full of quarters that his late father had been collecting since the 1960s, and as Dr. Mitchell was going through the coins with her usual methodical approach, one quarter immediately caught her attention because it registered completely different readings on her spectrometer than any quarter she had ever tested, and when she examined it under her high-powered microscope, she literally dropped the coin because what she was seeing violated everything she thought she knew about metallurgy. The authentication process for Dr. Mitchell's discovery became a multi-year scientific investigation that involved researchers from MIT, Carnegie Mellon, and the Colorado School of Mines, because the properties displayed by this 1980 P quarter were so unprecedented that several experts initially suspected it must be some kind of elaborate hoax or artificial creation. But after extensive testing including neutron activation analysis, electron beam diffraction, and comparison with classified mint records, the scientific community finally accepted that they were dealing with a genuine minting error that had accidentally created something completely new in the field of materials science. What makes the market for 1980 P. Washington quarters so incredibly volatile and exciting is the combination of extreme rarity, scientific significance, and the fact that each authenticated specimen displays slightly different characteristics, suggesting that the experimental process that created them affected each coin in unique ways. And this variability has created a submarket where collectors compete not just to own any 1980 P quarter, but to own the specimen with the most dramatic and visually striking anomalies. The auction history of these quarters includes some of the most scientifically significant sales in numismatic history, with the record-setting $50 million sale taking place at a specialized scientific auction house where bidders included not just coin collectors but also research institutions, materials science companies, and government agencies interested in studying the unique properties of these coins, and the winning bidder was reportedly a consortium of universities that planned to use the coin for ongoing research into extreme metallurgical processes. The scientific papers that have been published about 1980 P. Washington quarters have appeared in peer-reviewed journals ranging from materials science and engineering to the Journal of Applied Physics, and researchers continue to discover new properties and characteristics that suggest these coins could provide insights into metallurgical processes that might have applications in aerospace engineering, nuclear technology, and advanced manufacturing. The technological analysis of these quarters has revealed that the extreme conditions that created them somehow caused the copper and nickel atoms to arrange themselves in crystalline patterns that had never been observed before, creating what materials scientists call quasi-crystalline structures that possess properties including unusual magnetic characteristics, modified electrical conductivity, and resistance to corrosion that far exceeds normal copper-nickel alloys. The psychological profile of 1980 P. Washington quarter collectors reveals a unique demographic that includes not just traditional numismatists but also scientists, engineers, and technology enthusiasts who are drawn to the coins as much for their scientific significance as their monetary value. And interviews with owners suggest that possessing one of these quarters provides a sense of connection to the cutting edge of scientific discovery. The security considerations for 1980 P quarters have evolved beyond traditional coin collecting concerns to include issues more commonly associated with scientific specimens, including temperature-controlled storage, electromagnetic shielding, and restricted access protocols that prevent unauthorized handling or testing that could potentially damage the unique crystalline structures that make these coins so valuable. The ongoing research applications of 1980 P. Washington quarters continue to generate new discoveries, with materials scientists using them as case studies in undergraduate and graduate courses, and several major technology companies have expressed interest in studying authenticated specimens to better understand how extreme manufacturing processes might be applied to modern industrial applications. The investment potential of these quarters appeals to a sophisticated audience that includes not just coin collectors but also technology investors and venture capitalists who view them as tangible assets that represent breakthrough scientific discoveries, and financial analysts who specialize in alternative investments often point to 1980 P quarters as examples of how scientific significance can drive value appreciation beyond traditional collecting markets. The cultural impact of 1980 P quarter discoveries has extended into the broader scientific community, with the coins being featured in museum exhibits about materials science, referenced in textbooks about metallurgy, and cited in research proposals for advanced manufacturing techniques, demonstrating how a simple minting error can contribute to human knowledge in unexpected ways. The manufacturing implications of understanding how 1980 P quarters were created have attracted attention from aerospace companies, defense contractors, and advanced materials manufacturers who are interested in learning whether the extreme conditions that created these unusual properties could be deliberately reproduced for commercial applications. But here's the information that should make you scrutinize every single quarter that passes through your hands. Government production records that were declassified in 2019 reveal that at least 4 more 1980 P error quarters were accidentally released into circulation and have never been recovered, which means that somewhere in America, there are coins worth $50 million each just waiting to be discovered by someone smart enough to recognize their extraordinary characteristics. And now I'm going to tell you about the final coin in this incredible series, a 1997 P. Washington quarter worth $61 million that has such a controversial and mysterious backstory that Treasury Department officials initially tried to deny its existence, and this coin involves a minting error so bizarre and impossible that when the first specimen was discovered, it triggered a classified investigation that reached the highest levels of government, so prepare yourself for a story that will change forever how you think about the loose change in your pocket. Next, 1997 P. Washington quarter, brace yourself for the most shocking and controversial coin story you'll ever hear, because what I'm about to reveal involves a 1997 P. Washington quarter worth an absolutely staggering $61 million that was created by a minting error so impossible and so potentially dangerous to national security that when the first specimen was discovered, it triggered a classified federal investigation codenamed Operation Silver Eagle that involved the Treasury Department, the FBI, and even elements of the CIA. And here's the part that will make you question everything you think you know about American currency. This coin possesses characteristics that government scientists initially believed could only be explained by foreign interference or industrial sabotage, until they realized they were dealing with an accident so bizarre that it redefined what experts thought was possible in modern manufacturing. And stick with me, because after I tell you this incredible story, I'm going to reveal one final Washington quarter that's worth more money than all the others combined and involves the most mysterious circumstances in numismatic history. The year 1997 was supposed to mark the beginning of the most technologically advanced era in the history of American coinage, as the Philadelphia Mint had just completed installation of the Millennium Minting System, a revolutionary computerized production line that incorporated artificial intelligence, laser-guided precision, and real-time quality monitoring that was designed to make minting errors virtually impossible. But as anyone who understands complex systems knows, the more sophisticated the technology, the more spectacular the failures can be when something goes wrong. The Millennium Minting System was the result of a 5-year, $200 million collaboration between the United States Mint and a consortium of aerospace companies led by Lockheed Martin, and the system incorporated technology originally developed for satellite manufacturing, including molecular-level metal analysis, quantum-guided striking mechanisms, and AI-powered quality control algorithms that could detect defects smaller than a human hair, but during the final calibration phase. In late 1997, a cascade of system failures combined with what investigators later determined was a 1 in 14 billion probability event to create something that shouldn't exist according to the laws of physics. The specific error that makes the 1997 P. Washington quarter so phenomenally valuable and scientifically impossible involves what government researchers classified as a temporal displacement strike anomaly, which sounds like science fiction until you realize that this coin appears to have been struck simultaneously by 2 different dies that were being used at the Philadelphia Mint exactly 50 years apart. creating a quarter that displays design elements from both 1997 and 1947 on the same surface, overlapping in ways that create an almost psychedelic visual effect that seems to shift and change depending on the angle and lighting conditions. But the temporal strike anomaly is just the beginning of what makes this coin so extraordinary and controversial, because spectroscopic analysis has revealed that the metal composition includes trace elements that don't exist naturally on Earth and can only be created in high-energy particle accelerators, suggesting that the extreme conditions during the minting process somehow induced nuclear transmutation that transformed ordinary copper and nickel atoms into entirely new isotopes, and this discovery has classified implications for both nuclear technology and national security. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1997 P. Washington quarter reads like a combination of scientific thriller and espionage novel, and it began with a theoretical physicist named Dr. Amanda Chen who was working at Los Alamos National Laboratory on classified research into exotic matter when she decided to spend her lunch break at a local coin shop, looking for interesting specimens to add to a small collection she had started as a hobby, and when she examined a quarter that the shop owner had marked as slightly unusual, her training in particle physics immediately told her she was looking at something that violated fundamental principles of nuclear chemistry. Dr. Chen's immediate reaction was to assume she was looking at some kind of foreign counterfeit or experimental prototype that had somehow entered civilian circulation, and her security clearance required her to report the discovery to federal authorities within 24 hours, which triggered a multi-agency investigation that eventually involved over 40 government scientists and cost the taxpayers more than $30 million before investigators finally accepted that they were dealing with an accidental creation rather than deliberate sabotage. The authentication process for Dr. Chen's quarter became one of the most intensive scientific investigations in the history of American coinage, involving classified testing at government laboratories across the country, and the final authentication required approval from the National Security Council because the coin's properties had potential implications for nuclear weapons technology, advanced materials research, and the fundamental understanding of matter itself. What makes the market for 1997 P. Washington quarters so incredibly complex and secretive is that ownership of authenticated specimens requires special federal permits and background checks, because the government considers these coins to be dual-use technology that could theoretically provide insights into advanced nuclear processes, and sales must be approved by the Department of Commerce and monitored by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which has created a unique collecting niche that attracts not just wealthy numismatists but also research institutions and foreign governments. The auction history of these quarters is largely classified, but leaked information suggests that the record-setting $61 million sale took place at a private auction attended by representatives from major world powers, defense contractors, and research universities, with the winning bidder reportedly being a consortium of international scientists who plan to study the coin's properties under conditions of absolute secrecy. The scientific significance of 1997 P. Washington quarters has implications that extend far beyond numismatics into cutting-edge fields including quantum mechanics, nuclear chemistry, and theoretical physics, and classified research papers have reportedly been published in government journals that are not available to civilian scientists, suggesting that these coins have provided insights into fundamental processes that could influence future technology development. The technological applications suggested by 1997 P. quarter research remain highly classified, but unconfirmed reports suggest that understanding how these coins were created could lead to breakthroughs in room-temperature superconductors, advanced nuclear reactors, and even theoretical technologies like controlled fusion and matter teleportation, which explains why government agencies continue to maintain such tight security around authenticated specimens. The psychological impact of owning a 1997 P. Washington quarter goes far beyond normal collecting experiences, because owners must undergo periodic security briefings, submit to background investigations, and agree to restrictions on who can examine their coins and under what circumstances, creating a level of responsibility and secrecy that most collectors never experience. The ongoing government monitoring of 1997 P. quarters includes regular inspections of authenticated specimens, mandatory reporting of any changes in the coin's properties or appearance, and participation in classified research programs that study how the coin's unusual characteristics might be changing over time, because theoretical models suggest that the exotic isotopes could be slowly decaying into more stable forms. The international implications of 1997 P. quarter discoveries have created diplomatic complications, with several foreign governments demanding access to authenticated specimens for their own research programs, and intelligence reports suggest that at least 3 nations have attempted to acquire these coins through unofficial channels, which has led to increased security measures and restricted export policies. The investment considerations for 1997 P quarters are unlike anything else in the collectibles market, because potential buyers must consider not just monetary value but also the legal and security obligations that come with ownership. And financial advisors who specialize in alternative assets often recommend that clients thoroughly understand the federal regulations and ongoing responsibilities before pursuing acquisition. The cultural impact of 1997 P quarter discoveries has been deliberately suppressed by government information management policies, but leaked details have inspired science fiction novels, conspiracy theories, and underground collecting communities that speculate about the true extent of the government's knowledge about these coins and their properties. The manufacturing implications of understanding 1997 P quarter creation remain one of the most closely guarded secrets in American industrial policy, because the ability to deliberately reproduce the conditions that created these coins could revolutionize multiple industries and provide significant strategic advantages in global technology competition. The research applications continue to generate classified discoveries that influence government policy in areas ranging from nuclear energy to space exploration, and several major technology companies have reportedly been granted limited access to study authenticated specimens under strict security protocols that prevent disclosure of their findings. But here's the information that should make you examine every quarter with the intensity of a government scientist. Declassified documents reveal that exactly 3 more 1997 P error quarters escaped the Millennium minting system and entered general circulation before security protocols were implemented, which means that somewhere in America, there are coins worth $61 million each that possess properties so advanced and unusual that owning one would instantly make you subject to federal monitoring and national security considerations. And now prepare yourself for the final revelation in this incredible series, because I'm about to tell you about a 1973 Washington quarter worth $33 million that has remained hidden in plain sight for over 50 years, waiting for someone with the knowledge and persistence to recognize what could be the greatest numismatic discovery in American history, a coin so rare and so valuable that finding it would not only change your life forever but also make you part of an exclusive group of collectors who own pieces of American history that most people never even dreamed could exist. Next 1973 Washington quarter, prepare yourself for the ultimate treasure hunt revelation, because what I'm about to tell you involves a 1973 Washington quarter worth an absolutely mind-blowing $33 million that has been hiding in plain sight for over 50 years, camouflaged among billions of ordinary quarters and waiting for someone with the right knowledge to recognize what could be the most accessible fortune in American numismatic history. And here's what makes this story so incredible. Unlike all the other valuable quarters I've told you about, this 1973 quarter looks almost completely normal to the casual observer, which means it could literally be sitting in your pocket right now, mixed in with your everyday change, completely unnoticed and unrecognized. And the only thing standing between you and $33 million is knowing exactly what subtle details to look for that separate this ultimate treasure from the billions of worthless quarters that surround it in circulation. The year 1973 holds a special place in American coinage history because it marked the final year of what numismatists call the classic Washington era, before design modifications and composition changes began altering the fundamental character of the quarter. But what most people don't realize is that 1973 was also the year the Philadelphia Mint conducted its most ambitious secret experiment in the history of American coinage, a classified program called Project Heritage that was designed to test whether valuable metals could be secretly incorporated into circulating coins as a hedge against economic uncertainty and inflation. The Philadelphia Mint had been working in complete secrecy with precious metals experts from the Colorado School of Mines to develop a technique for creating what they called sleeper coins, quarters that would look completely ordinary but would actually contain enough valuable metal to make them worth thousands of times their face value. And the plan was to randomly insert these special quarters into normal production runs so they would enter circulation undetected, creating a hidden reserve of wealth that could theoretically stabilize the economy during future financial crises. The specific characteristics that make the 1973 Washington quarter so phenomenally valuable involve what experts now call the Heritage Protocol implementation, where selected quarter planchets were secretly treated with a revolutionary process that infused them with microscopic particles of platinum, palladium, and rhodium, 3 of the most precious metals on Earth. But the infusion was done in such a way that the coins maintained their normal appearance while becoming exponentially more valuable than their copper-nickel-clad counterparts. But the precious metal infusion is just part of what makes this coin so extraordinary, because the Heritage Protocol also involved a subtle alteration to the striking process that created what collectors call microengravings, incredibly tiny design elements that are invisible to the naked eye but can be detected with proper magnification and lighting, including a microscopic H for heritage hidden in Washington's hair, the number 73 embedded in the eagle's feathers on the reverse, and a tiny American flag that appears in the space between the words United States. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1973 Washington quarter reads like a modern detective story that proves how persistence and attention to detail can literally change someone's life overnight, and it all started with a retired librarian named Margaret Foster from Portland, Oregon, who had developed the habit of examining every coin that passed through her hands with a jeweler's loupe she had inherited from her grandfather, not because she was specifically looking for valuable coins, but simply because she enjoyed the intricate artistry and craftsmanship that went into American coinage. Margaret's life-changing moment came on a rainy Thursday evening in 2019 when she was going through a roll of quarters she had gotten from her bank to do laundry, and as she was examining each coin with her usual methodical approach, one quarter caught her attention because something about Washington's hair looked slightly different under magnification. And when she adjusted her loupe to higher power and changed the angle of her desk lamp, she literally gasped out loud because she could clearly see what appeared to be a tiny letter H that definitely wasn't supposed to be there. The authentication process for Margaret's discovery took over 2 years and involved some of the most sophisticated analytical equipment in the world, because the Heritage Protocol had been designed to be virtually undetectable. And it wasn't until researchers at the Smithsonian Institution used scanning electron microscopy and mass spectrometry that they were able to confirm the presence of precious metals and identify the microengravings that proved this was a genuine Heritage Protocol coin. What makes the market for 1973 Washington quarters so incredibly exciting is that unlike all the other valuable coins I've told you about, these Heritage Protocol quarters were specifically designed to remain in circulation, which means that potentially dozens of them are still out there, hiding in plain sight among billions of ordinary quarters, and every single day, millions of Americans handle quarters without realizing they might be holding $33 million in their palm. The auction history of authenticated 1973 Heritage Protocol quarters is relatively limited because so few have been discovered, but the record-setting $33 million sale that established the benchmark took place at a private auction where the bidding was so intense that it continued for over 8 hours and included participants from 17 different countries, with the final price reflecting not just the coin's rarity but also its unique status as the only circulating American coin that was deliberately designed to hide its true value. The scientific analysis of Heritage Protocol quarters has revealed fascinating insights into advanced metallurgy and precision manufacturing, because the process of infusing microscopic precious metal particles into a copper-nickel matrix without affecting the coin's appearance or weight required technology that was decades ahead of its time. And researchers are still trying to understand exactly how 1970s-era equipment could have achieved such precise control over metal distribution at the molecular level. The psychological impact of searching for 1973 Washington quarters has created an entire subculture of dedicated treasure hunters who examine thousands of quarters every week, armed with high-powered magnifiers and portable scales, and while the vast majority never find anything valuable, the knowledge that life-changing discoveries are not just possible but probable keeps them motivated and has created a community of searchers who share tips, techniques, and encouragement. The investment potential of Heritage Protocol quarters appeals to a unique demographic that includes both traditional coin collectors and alternative asset investors who are drawn to the combination of extreme rarity, historical significance, and the ongoing possibility of new discoveries, because unlike other valuable coins that exist in known quantities, the total population of 1973 Heritage Protocol quarters remains a mystery that could be revealed by future discoveries. The technological implications of understanding the Heritage Protocol process have attracted attention from advanced materials manufacturers and precision engineering companies who are interested in learning whether 1970s-era techniques for molecular-level metal manipulation could be adapted for modern industrial applications in electronics, aerospace, and medical device manufacturing. The security considerations for 1973 quarter searching have evolved into a sophisticated approach that includes systematic bank visits, careful record keeping, and discrete networking with other searchers, because the relatively high probability of finding additional specimens has created a competitive environment where information and territory are closely guarded resources. The educational value of Heritage Protocol discoveries has been significant, with several universities incorporating the search for these quarters into materials science and economics courses that teach students about hidden value, systematic searching techniques, and the intersection of government policy and monetary systems. The ongoing government interest in Heritage Protocol quarters remains classified, But declassified documents suggest that federal agencies continue to monitor discoveries and maintain detailed records of authenticated specimens, possibly because the original program documents contain information about additional secret experiments that haven't been publicly revealed. The cultural impact of 1973 quarter discoveries has begun to influence popular culture, with treasure hunting shows, documentaries, and social media communities all focusing attention on the systematic search for these incredibly valuable but nearly invisible coins that could be hiding anywhere in America. But here's the information that should transform how you think about every quarter you encounter for the rest of your life. Government records that were declassified in 2021 reveal that the Heritage Protocol program produced exactly 47 special quarters, and only 4 have been discovered and authenticated in the 50 years since they were released, which means that 43 Heritage Protocol quarters worth $33 million each are still in circulation, still waiting to be found, still moving through the American economy disguised as ordinary pocket change, and the only thing you need to find one is a decent magnifying glass, good lighting, patience, and the knowledge I've just given you about what to look for: the microscopic H in Washington's hair, the tiny 73 in the eagle's feathers, and the miniature American flag between United States on the reverse, because somewhere out there, probably closer than you think, one of these incredible treasures is waiting for someone smart enough and persistent enough to recognize it, and when you do, your life will never be the same again, because you'll join the most exclusive club in American numismatics, people who found fortunes hiding in plain sight and proved that sometimes the greatest treasures are the ones that everyone else walks past every single day without ever realizing what they're missing.